I'm going to rebuild the forks on my 1978 cr250 Elsinore redrocket. So I'll do a little time lapse of me stripping them down, replacing the seals, changing the fork springs, and then rebuilding them and hopefully putting them back in this afternoon. So that's the first fork stripped and partially reassembled. I'm now at the stage where I'm going to put fresh oil in. So the spec that I've got calls for 130 millimeters, not milliliters of oil. So you always measure the oil level by the distance in millimeters from the top of the fork without any of the springs in. And with the fork compressed. So I've got a fork level tool here, and so basically it's got a gauge on the side here in millimeters. So I'm going to just move that to 130 there. And so the idea is that you fill your fork up and then you use this tool to syringe off the excess oil. So that's what I'm just about to do. So I've done fork number one. Fork number two, the first fork, when it was in the bike, I undid the fork top. It's the easiest way. So you leave the forks clamped into the yokes, maybe slide it up slightly, and then you can just crack off the fork top while it's held in place by your triple clamps. But this fork top, it wouldn't come off, so I'm just going to try it with the nut gun. Go. So because they're so old, these forks, there's damage to the fork top, so I didn't want to damage it any more than it already is by trying to force it. So using the nut gun like I just did then is a good way to get it off without damaging it. So I'm now going to carry on. I'm going to so there's a little drain bolt in the bottom of the fork. I'm going to drain the oil from the bottom, so I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to remove, so there's a cartridge inside here. They're quite an advanced fork for the year. I'm going to remove the fork top from this rod which is attached to the cartridge in the bottom, and that cartridge is fixed into the bottom of the fork with a bolt from the underneath. So once I've undone this fork top and I've taken it off the top of the cartridge, I'm going to remove the fork springs, and then everything will then just pull out, and then as I did with the last one, I'll go off and I'll clean it, and then I'll start the reassembly process and be putting the new progressive fork springs in. So when doing the rebuild of the forks, the first job is to knock the new seals in, and then there's a clip, like a spring clip, that holds the oil seal in. And there's a dust seal that goes in over the top. Then I'll put the oil drain bolt in there, and then I'll put the cartridge back in, and so that bolts in from the bottom as well. And then I'll fill it with oil, as you saw me do last time, put the springs in, and then they can go back in the bike then. All done. Nice easy job. So there we have one set of 1978 cr250 redrocket forks, fully rebuilt and ready to go. There's a few things probably. I mean, this is a race bike, so it's not a show bike. But for next time, I'll probably change or upgrade. So I'm going to look at getting an upgraded oil seal for the top here. So it'll effectively have 2 oil seals in the bottom of the fork, which will just make it a lot less likely to have an oil seal problem, a fork seal problem. Look at changing the fork caps. So both of the fork caps on these forks are damaged from people trying to remove them incorrectly or struggling and slipping and this, that and the other. And then changing things like the little bolts, so the drain bolt and the bolt that goes in the bottom for stainless steel. And then I think we'll have a very good set of forks that'll stand me in good stead for beating Phil when we go racing.